So, hello everyone. Thanks for being here this morning. I hope this small technical issue will not break your mood today. I'm Irina. I work at Google. I'm tech lead for one of the Stadia projects, and I'm based in Germany, in Munich. So I'm super excited to be here with you today, even though it's virtually. I still think it's super cool that online communities bring us the way to connect in this way. All right, let's get started. So, how to be productive while being stressed? Everyone mentioned already that, we had lots of stress throughout the last year. So let's find out what happens to our bodies and what can we do to help us be more productive than we are, or keep our usual productivity. So let's see. I would like to start with a story about discovery of stress. So this man that you see on the right, called Hans Lia, he was a young scientist somewhere in the beginning of 20th century. And by young, I mean really young. So he just finished his studies and started to think, okay, what should I do next? So like I have this laboratory and I'm very ambitious. I want to change the world and I maybe want a Nobel Prize, who knows? So like, what should I do? And then a friend reached out to him. A friend figured out a way to extract a specific substance from some animals. It doesn't really matter what substance, in this case, a bit of spoiler. And young Hans Lia thought, okay, maybe I could try and figure out what this substance does to us. What can it do to, let's say, a laboratory rat or a mouse? So Hans designed an experiment and he injected a couple of mice in his laboratory with this substance. And all looks good. The only problem is Hans was a very young scientist, so he didn't have a lot of experience with injecting small live animals that want to escape from you, obviously. So some mice, they fall on the floor, they run away throughout the whole laboratory. He was running to catch them in the laboratory. He used a mop or whatever stuff he had to reach out to them. Then when he managed to catch a mouse, he did the injection. In 2 months, Hans noticed a very interesting pattern. Mice that he injected with the substance got sick. So they had some fallen, for their skin didn't look good, their mood wasn't good, they didn't enjoy sex, so they were not even interested in that. They were not that interested in food either. He started to think, oh, but then I found out what the substance is doing to mice. Okay, but he's a scientist. Even though he was young, he was already a scientist. So he designed the experiment properly. He had a control group, group of mice that he also injected, but not with this substance, but with something neutral, something that was known already as a safe substance, some water, whatever. And it turned out that the second group of mice had the very same symptoms. They had problems with fur, with appetite, with their skin. So they also were sick, and they had exactly same sick patterns. So at this moment, Hans Lia started to think. Like, he was a good scientist, so he didn't think, oh no, I failed. He thought, instead of that, he thought, okay, but what might have caused that? And it turned out that he treated the control group exactly the same way like he treated their, general group. No matter what he injected mice with, he might have thrown them on the floor and then he had to catch them and all this crazy stuff that happened before the injection. So he thought, that apparently this process that happened before the injection and injection itself, the fact of injection, this is what caused this illness from mice. And he called this stress. So now we learned how scientists for the first time encountered stress in laboratory. Mice can have stress. So what do you think? Can zebras be stressed? Can they have stress? I actually thought that we should be able to have a good chat. I think there is a slight lag between what I'm saying and what you see. But still, if you can, please type in their YouTube chat plus or minus whether you think zebras could be stressed or not. I'll wait for a moment and see whether it works this way. Okay, I see some pluses. Huge plus, nice. More pluses, one minus. Yeah, I am so glad this works. Okay. So I see that most of you think that zebras can be stressed. That's true. They can be stressed. So let's think for a moment what can stress zebra out? What can it be? Also, just type one word, two words, whatever comes to your mind in the chat, and I'll wait for a moment so you can hear what I just said. Oh, I see zebra emoji, very cute. Lions, I agree. When zebra encounters lion, it's certainly a stressful moment for zebra because she knows that it knows. I don't know how should I speak about zebra, but zebras know that they have to run for their lives, whether it's lion, predators, a hunter, a giraffe. Yeah, exactly. So those are all external factors: lions, predators, hunters, giraffe, maybe also famine. Anything that can happen. They own their own stripes. Well, I don't know that. Possible. Those are all external factors. So they encounter something in their environment and they react. Well, and we know that zebras don't usually fight, so they mostly run away. Yeah, sudden movements and sounds, things like that. Okay, so now we know stuff about zebras. What might stress you out? What do you think can stress out people generally? Also, don't think too hard, just one or two words. Please type it in the chat. I don't know, technical problems at the beginning of a conference or event. One thing from me. Commute. Yeah, agree. Especially when there are traffic jams and you can't control anything and just sitting in a car for half an hour. Lack of money, yeah, plus one to that. It might be stressful. Traffic. When you are not performing well or not able to see growth, burnout or overworking yourself can be a source of stress. Absolutely. Workload, environment you are in work-wise, failure, what other people think. Yeah, exactly. Being late. Oh yeah, I hate being late. I'm so stressed out when I'm late. So totally relate to that. Relationships. Not being in control, very good one. Family matters. Yeah. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. And maybe I have not read all of them, not read all of them aloud, but I paying attention to the chat. So thank you so much. I prepared this slide when I didn't know what you write here, and obviously it can be anything. So that's the key pass. Some things are more likely to happen, like money problems, or even experience of discrimination can be a source of stress for us. Even something that we smell, like if smell is not the one we like, we might get stressed because of that. And what I'd like to highlight here is comparing to zebras, we have factors that cause stress that are not only external, they're sometimes internal, like fear of being late. So like I'm stressed when I'm being late, not because something is endangering me, but because I think that it's bad being late, that I should not be late. And that like the source of it is somewhere inside of me. So that's the biggest difference between us and zebras. Okay, so stressors. So basically all those factors that you just called out that you can see in this slide are called stressors. So stressors are like threads of factors that activate the stress response in our cycle, in our body, sorry. So let's see what stress is. And on the picture on the left, we see a picture of a man who tries to keep balance. It's more like equilibrium, I would say. And there is a special process in our body called homeostasis. Feel free to forget this term. Basically, it means that we have a special process in our body that tries to keep all the systems in a balance or equilibrium. So that we have proper amount of liquids we need, we have a proper acidity level, we have proper hormone level. So that's what this homeostasis is doing. It controls our internal equilibrium. And then, like we see at the picture on the right, when something happens outside, when something changes in our environment, it might cause a stress reaction. Stress reaction essentially is imbalance, because when we encounter stress factor, our body tries to adapt to it in the sense that, let's say if we see lion, our body does something, like it produces special hormones and other things that helps us run faster. And our body at the same time tries to keep still us in certain equilibrium. So because we still want to be alive, so our body tries to keep us alive, but this equilibrium will be slightly different. And like you see in this man, it's just a metaphor, but the idea is the same. When our body tries to keep us in balance, when there is imbalance around us in our environment or in our thoughts, we are trying, our body tries still to keep this balance, and it creates a lot of tension in us, mental, physical tension, and it consumes lots of energy. So that's the reason why we might be tired often when we are stressed, especially for a long time. So just to recap, stressors are what might cause this imbalance or might cause a stress reaction in our body. Stress is the process that happens in our body when we encounter one of the stressors. And our body is constructed in a way that it tries still to keep equilibrium in this imbalanced state, to keep us alive, and that consumes energy. Yeah, so we've seen that mice can have stress, zebras have stress. We also have stress, so everyone has stress. Basically, everything that's alive can have stress. So stress is normal and natural thing, and it helps us survive sometimes. But it's not always useful, unfortunately. Prolonged stress, like global pandemic, stress that we can't control, might hinder our productivity And even worse, when it's there for a long time and we don't treat it, it might cause health or psychological problems. So we need to do something about that. Yeah, so sounds scary, probably. What do we do? What can we do about that? Actually, stress is researched for around 100 years already. So there are a bunch of research, and like if you're curious, let me know, ping me in the Slack. I can share a couple of interesting books about that. Generally, there are a lot of ways we can learn how to decrease our stress. We can learn how to fight the stressors, maybe get rid of some stressors. We can learn how to develop stress resistivity, but that's all like a super long topic, and 1 hour is not enough. Maybe we need 12 hours to talk about all of that. So today, I just want to focus on one of the aspects, is how to stay productive when we're stressed, because global pandemic happened and we still have to work. A lot of people in IT had this privilege to work from home, but it doesn't mean that we were not stressed. I was stressed. It was crazy. I didn't like to work from home when it started. So I had to learn how to live with that and how to stay productive. Let's see. What is our productivity strategy? Right now, I'll just share the plan, very high level, and then we go deeper in details of every step. So first thing we need to do is to identify that we are stressed. Then obvious thing, but not that easy done, we need to calm down. Then we can do our thing, do our task, do our work, do whatever we need to do. And at the end, we need to authorize result. I know that might sound confusing. I will explain everything in a moment. Yeah, so how do I know that I'm stressed? And that's actually a very good question, because a year ago, I couldn't answer that. Some people feel it. Some people, they just know that they're stressed and they know what they need to do about it. I have a friend who he runs. Whenever he's stressed, he starts jogging, and he's jogging like crazy. So the higher stress, the longer the runs he's doing, and it works for him. So he stays calm and can manage all the stress level. For me, it's different. I have no idea when I'm stressed. I don't feel that. So I need some techniques to be able to identify that. One of the factors to pay attention to is strong emotions. So when you experience strong emotions, usually it means you are stressed and you need to calm down a little bit and do whatever things we will be talking about later today. And I mentioned here specifically like not that positive emotions, anxiety, fear, anger, grief, because it's slightly different. It works slightly different when we are happy. There are different hormones involved, so usually it's just safe for us. But when we fear anger or anxiety, that might mean that we are stressed. The other thing to watch out for is bodily reactions. So like any kind of tension, so like, I don't know, shoulders or back tension, or even mouth and tongue tension might be a sign of stress. Sleep problems, when you can't fall asleep, or we fall asleep, but then we wake up at night and thoughts are running around in our heads, you're probably stressed. Digestive problems. Oh, that's actually is interesting. Because when we are running, when a zebra running away from a tiger or from a lion, it doesn't care about the breakfast it just ate. It doesn't matter. Like, you need to run away from this predator right now, because if lion will eat zebra, who cares about breakfast zebra ate this morning? So that's a natural process, but when we are in stress for a long period of time, we might experience digestive problems. And any kind of pain might be a sign of stress. Yeah, one of the big factors of stress is unemployment. Yeah, I can imagine that. So it must be really hard. And I know that a lot of people actually face this throughout last year. Yeah. Coming back to our presentation, first way to identify the stress is to feel it, to pay attention to our emotions and reactions in our body. The other alternative is thinking, not actually thinking, but to catch the thought process we have. So I'll give you some time. Please read the sentences and type in the chat. If you ever experienced similar thoughts to this, please just type a number. Or if you want to type the thoughts similar to that you had. Those usually thoughts like including sentences like always, never, fail, I must, I should, I can't, sentences like that. So my favorite one is, why can't they just do it? Why do they need me? So when I catch that, I know that I'm stressed. Number 9, just. Yes, exactly, just. Also, the keyword, unfortunately, in this case is number 16. Something must be wrong with me. Why can't I relax? Stop thinking about stuff. I can't quit. Yeah, I know that. 1, 5, 9, 15, 13. Yeah, don't waste time. Don't waste time. I know that. I must be strong. I'm the only one who could do it. Don't waste time. Yeah. Thank you so much for reading through that and sharing it. Yeah, this is very exciting because I've talked about this with people from different places on the planet, and we all can relate to the same things. So apparently we're not that different. Maybe we're not different at all. And I catch some of those thoughts from myself all the time. And when I do that, I know that I'm stressed. So that's the first step, identify the stress. Yeah. Then the other way to identify the stress is to measure it. I will not speak too much about that. So there's been a bunch of studies about the relation between heart rate variability and the stress level. Yeah, there is a strong correlation. I'll just say that. Trust me on this. Let me know if you want to know more about that. I can share some links. And luckily, we are now living in the world where we have lots of gadgets, and most of them are available easily to us. So let's say smartphones. There are a bunch of applications that can measure your heart rate variability and stress level just by using camera on your smartphone. That's super easy. You don't need to think. You just measure it and see that. And that's an alternative. And I use it, for example, to find out what stresses me out when I don't notice it. So let's say I don't catch any thoughts, I don't catch any feelings, and I'm just not sure whether I'm stressed after that meeting that I just had or not. So I can do this measurement, and then I know that I'm stressed. So yeah, feel free to just Google for it or DuckDuckGo for it and search for application that can measure stress by heart rate variability. Right. So let's do a quick recap. Now we know how to catch the stress. We know that some people feel it. We can catch our strong emotions. We can catch our body reactions. We can catch our thoughts, or we can measure it by heart rate variability. So now the next step is you need to calm down. So there is no other way to do that. This is a very important step, even though it's not always simple. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not. But we need to tell our body that we are not in danger anymore, that it's okay, that it can go from this imbalanced man or woman, from this imbalanced state to a balanced state, that it can calm down and get back to normal functioning. How do we do that? And yeah, I have 2 slides with a bunch of techniques, and this is very good because techniques are super simple. And the first step from this list, we've actually done that labeling. How do I feel? I feel stressed. That is a good step already. When I tell that I'm stressed, I feel much calmer already. And after that, I usually choose 1 or 2 strategies from the list to do that. So let me just quickly go through that. Posture. Let's say if I'm at the meeting and I can't go and do my breathing exercises, I can't meditate in the middle of the meeting. So I know that if I do, my posture, if I fix it, if I'm not hiding, if I'm not fearing something, instead, I'm okay, I'm safe here, I own the situation, it helps a little bit. Not too much, but I use it in some complicated discussions that I had. Sport or cardio. I know you've heard this a lot already, but it's true. Sport or any kind of physical activity is the single most effective strategy to tell our body that we are calm, that we are safe, that we escape predator or any threat that we had. And the general idea is to have 10, 15 minutes exercise that pumps up your heart rate. It can be dancing, jumping, whatever you do. Yeah, you don't have to do it every time you're stressed. You might do it once a day, for example, to just calm down after the whole day of work or stressful meetings or any other stressful stuff that's happening during the day. It helps me fall asleep, for example. Yeah. Then focus on concentration. So actually, these coloring pages that Pam just talked about is a good example. So you need to focus and do something small with your hands, ideally, or play a game that requires focus and concentration. This is a good thing. You just do it for a few minutes and then your body understands that it's okay, you're relaxed now. You can relax now. Listen to your favorite music, go for a walk, do meditation, mindfulness practices, obviously there. Laugh, have a good laugh with someone you love, or just watch some funny videos on YouTube. That helps also take out this tension a little bit. Talk to a friend or a colleague you trust. You want to talk to someone. You can just go and have a good sleep even in the middle of the day. It's something crunchy, and that's the one I find really fascinating. So apparently, when we eat something crunchy like apple, for example, or something that we really need to chew hard on, tells our body that if we are eating, then we are probably safe. So our body is kind of smart. So that might be a fast and easy snack and also stress mitigation strategy. Make your environment safe. So one of you mentioned that when we don't have control over a situation, it's particularly hard for us. So like pandemic, for example, here in Germany, every week we have a new set of rules, and I cannot predict what new set of rules will be there next week? Will I be able to meet my friends next weekend? Will I be able to celebrate my birthday? Or will my colleague be able to celebrate the birthday of his child? We don't know that. We don't have any control of that. And sometimes it might be super stressful for us. So we can do a counteraction to that. We can tell ourselves that it's okay. We cannot control everything, but we can control something. For example, I can control how the things arranged on my desk, what I'm wearing, is it clean in my house? I can go and do some dishes, for example, and this helps me understand that, okay, I can control my immediate environment. I can control the place I'm in. I can control my desk. I can control my clothes. And that calms you down a little bit. Yeah, I like the crunchy food idea, so cool. Yeah, I love that too. Apples were my good to go. So yeah, let me know whether you notice it helped. Somewhere in the Slack, maybe. Yeah. Well, journaling is a well-known thing to calm down, and gratitude actually as well. So try and say at the end of your day, maybe to yourself, what you're grateful for today. Yeah. So we've identified the stress now. We've calmed down. We are calm, we are relaxed, all good. Now it's time to go back to work. Even if it were that easy, sometimes we just can't. Even though I know that I'm not stressed anymore, I just can't start the task that I was able to do a week ago or a month ago. I just can't. Yeah, like we discussed, when we are in this imbalance for a while, it eats our energy. And transition back also eats a little bit of our energy. So we might not have enough power to do the stuff that we actually done, that we actually were able to do a month ago. But it's okay. We can do something about that. It's not that scary, actually. So one of the techniques called Aggro Action Goal Reality Options Wheel. So it's a little bit long, but when we do it in action, it takes like 30 seconds or so. So just please bear with me. The first step is to tell, what do you plan to do? What's the task? For example, I have broken shoes. They're my favorite shoes, and there's a hole in it, and I want it to be repaired. So I don't want to throw away. Those are my favorite shoes. I want it to be repaired. That's my task. What bigger goal is this part of? I might have a date next week, and I want to wear my favorite shoes there, or it might be my winter shoes, for example, and I know that in a week it might be snowing. So the reason the goal might be very different. It's a very personal thing. There is usually something bigger behind every hour task. So this step is about thinking about this next bigger goal. Then we need to tell ourselves, how do I know that the goal is met? I know that the goal is met when my shoes don't have this hole when they are repaired. So this step is important for us to understand, to be able to understand later on when the task is done. So, sometimes you start doing something, and then it rolls and rolls and rolls, and you just don't stop because you didn't think about what is the end state that you're looking for. So here we are just telling ourselves the shoes must be repaired. And it sounds simple in this case. So where are you now? I'm procrastinating because I don't want to go outside. It's rainy and the weather is bad. I don't really want to go outside. So this step number 4 is about our state, our feelings, our emotions. So remember this labeling thing. When we tell about our emotions, when we identify them, it's usually easier to proceed after that. What's already done? Yeah, so sometimes we are doing something that we've started already a while ago. So let's say if it's a report that I need to write, I might have written first page already, but I still have 5 pages to go. With my example with the shoes, I might have packed them already. So I packed them in a bag. What could be my next step? So this step of steps, this is important. So think about your task again, your goal. Where are you right now with this goal, and what could you potentially do as a single next step? With report, it can be I write a second page, send it for approval to my supervisor, or with the shoes, I might say that I can find a place where they repair shoes. The next is what will be your next step. In contrast with could be, here we already decide what we are going to do. So just pick one step and tell that this will be your next step. So with my shoes, my next step will be to Google for a place where someone can repair shoes. When I'm gonna do that? I'm gonna do it at 11 a.m. today. Summary. Summary is just a quick recap of our intention and when we are gonna do that. So, example with the shoes. At 11 a.m. today, I'm gonna take my computer and start Google for a place where they repair shoes. And why I need it? I need it because I want my shoes repaired before next Friday when I have a date. Hope that's clear. And you can speak this out. You can tell this to someone else, or you can write it on a paper, whatever works for you best. I think I tried both ways and they both work. And it takes just 30 seconds. So now it took a little bit longer, but usually it takes just a minute, maybe 30 seconds to pronounce it. So try it with anything, literally with anything, even like doing dishes. We tried it with cleaning and it did magic. Yeah, so let's move forward. The other one is so-called OODA Loop. It stands for Observe, Orient, Decide, and Act. It's also known as Boyd Loop. So there is a bunch of literature about that. Probably won't stay here for too long. It's called Boyd Loop because John Boyd, military strategist, invented this cycle, basically. And why it works and why it's important for us, especially when we're in stress. We might still need to work on complicated or big tasks, like, I don't know, projects, other stuff that we should do. And this cycle saves us a bit of energy. So those two actions on the left, observe and act, saves us energy. And orient and decide, a little bit more complex for us, but just look at that, think about that. Half of the time when we are working on the task, we don't need to think, we just need to execute. In case of observe, we are collecting information, we don't analyze it, we don't do anything, we don't make any decisions, we just collect it. So we write it down somewhere, we note it down somewhere, and we don't think about it. This don't think about it, don't analyze it, saves us energy. Then usually after this step, we take a break and then go for orientation round. Here we think about information we get. So this is the special place where we analyze it. Set a timer that helps you not to be afraid of this huge and complicated step. Let's say I can tell next 15 minutes I will think about possible next steps for this project. I look at the information I collected, I think about priorities, scoping, maybe I can break it down in some phases. Then I take a break again. After the break, I convert my plan into tasks. So here the idea is to convert my phases or plans into a very, very, very simple tasks. So they should be that simple that I don't even need to think about it when I start doing it. It could be write something down, write a header, or change color in CSS file. Anything. It should be super simple. We create it. We create the list of tasks. We don't do them yet. We just create this list. And then we take a break. And then when we act, we just take those tasks and execute them without thinking about them, without analyzing them. We're just doing them. So just trust. We trust ourselves. Like I trust myself. I probably can't properly split the project into smaller tasks. And if I created this task, then I should do that. It takes a little bit of time to get used to this process, but in the end, it really saves energy. Yeah. So just read more about that if you're curious. Really recommend it with the harder projects. Well-known Pomodoro timer. Just to recap, the idea is that you split your work day into periods, 25 minutes focused work. You turn off all the notifications, you close the door, you put on headphones, whatever helps you focus and not to be distracted. Then you have a 5 minutes break, and then you do the cycle again. After 4 full cycles, you do a longer break. Why this works? Because when we tell ourselves that we need to focus just for 25 minutes, so we kind of make a deal with our body, with our brain, with our attention. Okay, for next 25 minutes, I will be focused only on this piece. And then you do that. Then when you get the rest, you can check notifications during this 5 minutes break, or maybe see what changed in the world. Maybe you need to focus on something else already. The trick is when we are stressed and tired, it might not be possible to get focused for 25 minutes. In this case, there is a trick I want to share with you. Don't force yourself into 25 minutes periods, and just set timer for 25 minutes and start working. The moment you catch the thought about something else, for example, I'm working on this presentation, but at some point after 10 minutes, I noticed that I'm thinking about a dog. Do I want a dog? Do I want a dog? Yeah, I've seen this French bulldog yesterday. He's so cute. So I'm starting to thinking about something completely irrelevant. This means I'm tired. This moment, I stop my timer and go ahead and have a rest. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Someone wrote that you can adjust time to your liking. Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm talking about now. And it's okay if you need to take a longer break. It might be that you can focus for 10 minutes and then you need 30 minutes break. That's totally fine. When you're tired, when you're under stress, this is okay. And you are actually being productive this way. You're more productive when you get enough rest than when you are just trying to force yourself into work, and instead of doing proper work, you're procrastinating. So try that out. I had some period somewhere last year where I was able to focus for 7 minutes, I think, and then I needed 30 minutes break. After a few weeks, no, maybe not a few weeks, actually, several days with this technique, I was able to focus for longer periods of times. Yeah. So we've identified our stress. We are calm. We did our task. We used some techniques, so maybe we didn't need them. And yeah, magic. We did our work. And what else? Like, why do we need to do anything else? Like, we use some techniques, we were productive already. So what's this authorized result? Yeah, so do you know the feeling at the end of the day? Like, I get it sometimes. I was busy the whole day. I didn't procrastinate. I didn't talk to my friends in the chats. I just worked the whole day. I was in the meetings, I've done some other work, but still, at the end of the day, I don't feel satisfaction. I feel that I've done nothing. Or sometimes I can't even remember what I've done the whole day. I feel tired and not satisfied. When I feel it for a couple of days in a row, then I don't want to work, so I lose my motivation. So here's the trick with this practice. When we get the result, so let's say at the end of the day, when we focus on our result, then we get this feeling of satisfaction. We need to do some extra step sometimes to get this satisfaction. And this satisfaction gives us motivation and energy for the future work. Motivation is a whole huge another topic. Here I'm talking about motivation in the sense of I want to do something, I will do something, I want to continue what I'm doing. And this leads to productivity. Without this I want, I will, we cannot be productive. It's harder to do whatever we don't want, we don't feel like doing. And this is actually a cycle. Result can lead to satisfaction. We need to do something about that to get the satisfaction. Satisfaction helps us with motivation and productivity. Productivity leads to results, so it's the whole cycle. So let's see how to do that. So this is my favorite thing actually I've learned about stress and productivity in general, because it's so easy. It takes like maybe a minute a day. Sometimes I do it a few times a day. And I really feel satisfied. I have this feeling of accomplishment. We know that we've done something when we talked about it, when we showed it to ourselves. So my recommendation is do it at the end of every day. And again, you can just speak it out loud, speak it to yourself, or just write it down on the paper, whatever you prefer. So the first step is describe your task or a starting point. So at the end of the day, it might be a few tasks, few starting points. Then we need to describe what we've done. Those should be simple actions, and we need to use active verbs. So like I took this marker and I wrote something on the whiteboard, for example. So simple actions that are active that I've done. Describe the result. So here the trick, remember when we were talking about Aggro technique, I've mentioned that it's important to understand what is expected result for us. So here's where we're gonna need it again. So think about what was expected result. If this result is met, then the result is positive. If this result is not met, the result is negative. And if it's partially achieved, then it's a partial result. I'll talk about it in a moment. So here we are not talking about what we feel about the task. Here we are talking about what whether the result was positive, negative, or partial, just those three words. And then the last step, define how do you feel about this result? Not feel, sorry. Why do you need this result? How can you use it for yourself in the future? So let me give you an example. My favorite shoes are broken. So my task was to repair the shoes. And my starting point was that I started to think what I will wear on my date next week. And I found out that my favorite shoes are broken. So my task was to fix the shoes. Actions, what I've done. I've opened my computer. I went to Google Maps and I searched for a place that can repair shoes. I've checked their office hours, I've checked when they work, I planned when I will be free during the day between meetings to get my shoes to this place. I packed my shoes into the package, I took them with me and went, I don't know, at 1 p.m. I went to this place and I handed it over to a person there and I asked them to repair. I paid for it and then I went back home. 3 hours later, this person called me and told me that I can pick up my shoes. I went there and picked up the shoes. Yeah, the result. My shoes are perfectly fine, like new, without any problem. I can wear them on the date. Result is positive. This is exactly what I needed. And why do I need this result? How can I use it for myself? Next week, I have this day that I really care about, and I'm super happy that I can wear my shoes there. Punkt. That's all. That's the whole thing that we need to talk to ourselves. And it might be shorter, it might be a little bit longer. It takes no more than 30 or 60 seconds, usually. You get used to it. It's a little bit counterintuitive in the beginning, but then you might even feel this satisfaction and like the will to do something else because you energize with that. Sorry. So what do we do is if the result is negative? So yeah, I mean, if everything worked out perfect, we are happy probably anyways. So if result is negative, the first 3 steps are exactly the same, and the last step is different. So, sorry. Instead of thinking about how can we use this result, it's negative, so it's not what we expected. We tell ourselves how do we feel about the goal right now. And it might be, it didn't work out and that's okay. I'm sorry it didn't work. I'll try to do something else next time. It didn't work because of X, Y, that. And next time I'll take this into account. And it might be, I will not try it again. It's too expensive, too long. Don't want to do it anymore, can't. And similar thing with partial result. So if we have achieved not what we wanted to achieve, then partially, for example, I wanted to prepare the presentation and I prepared just 50% of the slides. So then my result is partial. And how do I feel about the goal now? I think it's still important. And I know that the result is partial. I'm satisfied by that already right now. And tomorrow I will continue and finish the second half of the task. Yeah, and with negative, let's say if a man told me they cannot repair my shoes, I probably will be sad, but I will not try it again because I know it's impossible. And instead of that, I will think about my other outfit for the day. Yeah, that's all I had to say today. So let's do a quick recap. So really hope you can take something useful out of this talk. Let's summarize. Stress was there, stress is there, and it will be in our lives. And we can't do anything about that. It's normal and natural process that helps us survive in dangerous situations, but it's not always useful and helpful. Sometimes it might cause us productivity problems or health problems or psychological problems. So we have to learn how to live with it and how to be productive. We've talked about how to live with stress in terms of work productivity. We know that the first thing we should do is identify the stress. We pay attention to our emotions, body reactions, our thinking, remember this list of thoughts. We can measure it with heart rate variability applications. When we identify the stress, we need to calm down. Meditation, music, walk, feeling of control about the environment around ourselves, anything that works for you. Then we know a couple of techniques that we can use to be productive when we are tired and don't feel like doing anything. It's a void loop, Pomodoro, or like adjusted Pomodoro cycle, where we pick up our own intervals, and Aggro methodology, when we just for 30 seconds quickly tell ourselves why we are doing what we are doing and what will be our next step. And then in the end, we remember that satisfaction that gives energy to our motivation and productivity sometimes will not just appear on its own, and sometimes we need to help it. So we know that at the end of every day, we can authorize a result. So tell ourselves that this is my result. I was working the whole day on this, and this is what I achieved. And this will give us satisfaction, that will give us motivation, that will give us productivity next time. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you for being active in the chat.